Call of Duty Vanguard was pretty much doomed from the start, in my opinion. From the moment leaks started appearing, from the cover art to just what the game was about, and then of course even further with the trailer, the game was, in my opinion, pretty much doomed, for the simple fact that people just didn't want to see another World War II shooter. They didn't want to see another World War II themed aesthetic game, and this is what we got. And just with that alone, people already were disinterested in the game. And it's a shame. I personally really enjoy the World War II aesthetic, and I believe other people also enjoyed it, but this game just didn't do it right, in my opinion. And things honestly didn't get much better once the game actually finally released. The game felt like an unpolished, buggy, unfinished mess. Within just the first month of this game's life cycle, it was full with bugs and glitches that took the developers such a long time to fix. I feel like they made the game and then just said, well, here you go. Here's COD Vanguard, also known as Vangarbage. We'll see you next year. And that's basically what happened. Although some bugs and issues that did get eventually fixed with time, which is good news, the game really didn't get much better once it got released. So, like I just mentioned, one of the things about this game, when it released, it felt like an unpolished, unfinished project, filled with bugs and issues that took such a long time to get fixed was already enough to kill a big amount of players. This game died so fast, concurrent multiplayer viewers died so fast on Twitch within the first month, it was crazy. This game just had a lot of bad things to it, unfortunately. One of the things was, in my opinion, the maps. There was almost no good maps. All the maps were either too big and they were just boring, and they seemed to look all exactly aesthetically the same. It was either dirt and just these brownish, darker color grays. I just personally felt like I was playing on the same goddamn map the whole time. Sure, it did have some okay maps, and some of the DLC maps were actually pretty damn good, but by the time those DLC maps came around and now you have all these better good DLC maps, the game was already beyond dead and forgotten. So maps overall, they just weren't that good. Again, they were too big and boring. And that's a big part of multiplayer, so it's quite the shame. And back to the colors, I feel like players were blending into the environment. Not that it was horrible to see players, but sometimes it was really tough to see a player, because of the fact that the colors just blended in and you couldn't see a guy if he was in the bushes or behind a rock or something. Just blended so well into the ground and into the grass that it was crazy. And this was especially evident in hardcore, which I personally detested so much, the hardcore in this game. Although I do take it over Modern Warfare 2's hardcore, this hardcore was just bad, and it even made this whole player blending into the environment even a bigger deal than it should be. I believe this was something introduced for the first time in Vanguard, but this was destructible environment. I personally did not like this, and I think a lot of players didn't like this either. It created even more head glitches than ever, getting shot through walls that could have a hole in them, or a player could have made a hole to shoot from. Just very random. I did not personally enjoy this destructible environment theory, idea. It was okay, but no, I think it was definitely, the majority of players I think would agree with me that just wasn't a very entertaining thing to have in the game. Although this is just a particular game mode, Champions Hill was something that got a lot of people were interested in that game mode, and it was an interesting game mode, but it never got an update. They never added content, they never added maps, they pretty much made the game mode, released the game, and never ever touched that game mode ever again. That game mode died straight away, which is strange to me. In my personal opinion, the camo grind in Vanguard was just boring, slow, tedious, and just straight up repetitive. Challenges were uninteresting and were boring. The camos weren't even worth getting, in my opinion. Gold looked okay, Diamond, in my opinion, looked really bad, and Atomic was just basically rainbow diarrhea. I know a lot of people really liked that camo, especially in Warzone, but in my personal opinion, it was not worth getting the camo. I didn't get it, and I'm glad I didn't burn multiple brain cells trying to get that camo, especially with some of those broken camos. There were camos that weren't tracking, camos that weren't even, you couldn't even do them because the game was broken, and you had to wait for the developers to fix it. So that sucked a lot for players who were trying to get their camos as early as possible, especially for those weapons that were just much harder to get and had broken camos and didn't track. And another thing that connects with the camos was the weapon level. Weapons capped at level 70, and I believe some weapons a little sooner than that, but most weapons capped at level 70, which is just ridiculous. It took an insane amount of time to rank up weapons to level 70 so that you could finally get the good attachments. And speaking of attachments, every weapon had 10 attachments. I believe it was 8 attachments and 2 perks. Like, holy crap, there was so many attachments, which you think it's good. I just think it's way too many. It's way too many because it drastically changed the way guns could work, and some guns just felt straight up broken and OP as hell once you had all the attachments on them. But again, it took such a long time to get these attachments and rank up these guns that it just, I don't know, there's something just felt wrong about it. And the fact that even for the camo grinder, you had to rank up every single weapon to its max level in order to unlock the final camo or the last 2 camos to be able to do them. So it was bad news for camo grinders because they had to rank up every single weapon to their max level. Although nothing that I care too much about, I think that whole MVP screen, in my opinion, was just time-consuming. I don't think people really care about knowing who has the highest KD in that match, who had the most kills, who had the most time in the objective, because nobody cares. It's just wasting time. Nobody voted. It was just a waste of what was it, 15-20 seconds or more of just that whole MVP situation. Nobody cared about it. I'm glad it's gone, and I hope it never returns because nobody cared about it. Just give us the best play of the game, final kill, and just put us straight up to the next match. We don't want to waste another 20 plus seconds looking at the highlights of players who we don't even care about, and we're not even going to vote, so ugh. Again, back to the World War II theme, this game just didn't feel immersive enough. It didn't feel like an immersive World War II experience, and this became even more evident with time as they were releasing the most absolute ridiculous bundles you could think of. I mean, Mecha Godzillas, King Kong, Terminator, Cyber Demons, Attack on Titan, RoboCop, just these cyborgs and weapon skins that shot fucking lasers and I mean, it's a World War II themed game, and it turned into basically a COD mobile, a mobile skin game. I don't know, it just broke the immersion. Imagine you're trying to play this game and really trying to be like, oh yeah, I'm a sniper from 1940, whatever, in World War II, and now I'm getting danked on by this dude wearing a cyberpunk futuristic from the year 3000 skin shooting laser guns. It broke the immersion so much, and it only got worse with time as they added even more and more crazy bundles that I guess it is what it is, you know? Spawns were pretty bad in the game, especially in free-for-all. I mean, spawns have always been bad in Call of Duty, especially in free-for-all, so I guess I can't complain too much about it. But people really liked complaining about the spawns because they were pretty bad, and especially in maps that just didn't seem like they worked well. And of course the spawns became even just a whole different story if you were playing it on Blitz mode, which I actually liked Blitz mode. I thought Blitz mode helped the game a lot in certain big maps, but it broke the spawns to a certain levels that it was just crazy. Streaks were just underwhelming. There wasn't too many good streaks. Most people just ran the Flame Nout and Dogs. And that's about it. And sometimes the ball turret, which the ball turret actually was insanely strong if you were playing on the right map. But other than that, everything was just boring. There was no interesting streaks to use. Everybody used the same things. In early game, as I mentioned, with all the bugs and issues, dogs were getting stuck behind Geo. They were getting stuck behind the map. They didn't even work. And then you had the dogs with all the jingly bell. Oh my God, during Christmas for weeks on end, just hearing the dog jingling around. That was a whole different story too. The nat type in this game was very funky in my opinion. I usually have open nat type, but in this game I feel like I was always in moderate and strict sometimes. It was very weird. I think a lot of players also ran against this problem, and I don't know why this is, but it was an issue, and well, I don't know. It was definitely very funky. The game just received no love, unfortunately. Most of the update content that we got was for Warzone, and everything was paid bundles and DLC. The battle pass was boring. There was no real good content keeping this game alive, no in-game events. There was just nothing going on. The developers pretty much abandoned this multiplayer part of the game and just focused on Warzone, and there was just nothing to keep this game alive or interesting. It was the same boring thing over and over again since the day it released all the way to the day it died, and now is being forgotten bit by bit. There was no communication from the devs. They pretty much gave us one communication after Christmas, after all this whole bug and issues fiasco, and said they were gonna talk to us more and be part of the community even more, and that was balls because they never did it ever again. They went completely silent pretty much, and there was no communication between devs and the community, and that's another big reason why the game just, again, got forgotten and died so soon. Although this was just strictly multiplayer, I do want to say one thing about campaign. Campaign was, in my opinion, just average to below average. So many buggy cutscenes and character bugs and just the craziest things. Campaign, again, below average. Then you have zombies, which, my God, zombies, holy shit. I mean, can you even call it zombies? What a fiasco of a game mode. I believe it was made by Treyarch, and they probably was like, hey, make zombies for Vanguard, and Treyarch did a project that took them like a day to make, and it was horrendous. You can't call that zombies. It was terrible. It was so bad. People don't even remember Vanguard has zombies, and Vanguard does have zombies. Well, it basically doesn't have them, but it's terrible. Apparently, they did release, what was it, Shi no Numa, and now it was actually playable, but they released it almost a year later, so a little too late. But generally speaking, the zombie experience was terrible, which is very sad because World War II's Zombie by Sledgehammer Games was actually really good. They had some really good zombies in that game. And overall, World War II 2017, even in its launch state, was better than this game at its end state. And World War II actually became a fantastic Call of Duty mid-year with the giant overhaul update, but although by the time it was a little too late. So essentially, Sledgehammer's games tried to do another World War II game. This time it was just so piss poorly made that this is what it received. It got the attention that I guess it deserved, and it wasn't loved, and World War II just did it 1,000 times better back in 2017, both in multiplayer, campaign, and zombies. The game isn't really that bad. It does have a lot of good things, such as like the fast movement, which I love about this game, and a couple of more other things, but I won't be covering that anyway. This is just what, in my opinion, is really the bad of the game. And again, it just has so many bad things, and I bet it has so many more bad things that I didn't even mention in this video, so please let me know in the comments what bad things did I miss about this game. What things did you hate about the game? Again, I didn't hate the game. I didn't love it. I thought it was a good game in a certain way, and it was a horrible game at the same time. I didn't have much love for it, nor hate. Again, the game wasn't bad. It's just the game got no love from the developers. No content updates, so many bugs and issues, and just interesting maps only came with time, and you could tell that they were putting all their effort to Warzone and to releasing bundles, because at the end of the day, that is where the money is. And of course, I should mention SBMM. I didn't want to mention it because I thought it was pretty obvious. This game, of course, had SBMM, and it was pretty brutal as well. I don't think it comes not even close to how brutal Modern Warfare 2's SBMM is, especially while being insanely heavily rigged, which is so evident, and I do cover this in my past Modern Warfare 2 video if you want to check it out. This game does have it, but it's nowhere near as bad. It was more linear, and it wasn't as punishing, I think, so maybe it's just me, but yeah, it wasn't terrible. It was here. SBMM was here. It just wasn't so bad, but I think that's about it for this video. I hope you enjoyed. Make sure to please hit that like button. Consider subscribing if you're new to the channel, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.